I remember the exact moment my world started unraveling. The words were casual, almost casual enough to pass unnoticed if I hadn't been listening for meaning between the lines. "Maybe we should take a break," she said, twisting the ring on her finger, the one I had given her last year for our engagement. I don't know. You're too emotionally attached. It's suffocating." I stared at her, the fluorescent kitchen light reflecting off the marble counter, and I thought I'd misheard. Maybe she didn't really mean it. "Too attached," I echoed, my voice steadier than I felt. "You mean, like I care about you?" She shook her head slowly, like she was untangling a knot that had grown too tight. "It's not that I don't care. I do. But I need space. Time to breathe. To figure things out." I remember nodding, swallowing the lump in my throat. My heart ached in a way that was almost physical, like someone had pressed a fist into my chest and wouldn't let go. I had loved her completely, fiercely, with a kind of intensity that scared me sometimes, but I never imagined it could be too much. "Okay," I said finally. "If you think this is what you need, I'll respect it." She smiled then, a half-hearted curve that didn't reach her eyes, and left. The door clicked behind her, leaving a silence so heavy it seemed to press against the walls of our apartment. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't know how to. My mind kept looping over her words, the way she looked at me when she said them, the subtle tremor in her fingers as she twisted that ring. Something in me whispered that this wasn't just about needing space. Something was wrong and I knew it. The days turned into weeks. We didn't speak much. Texts, occasional calls, nothing substantial. I tried to convince myself that it was healthy, that maybe this break would make her miss me, make her see that we were meant to be. But deep down I feared the truth. Then came the first sign. I was walking past a cafe near my office when I saw her. She was sitting at a table, laughing, leaning close to a man I didn't know. Not just any laughter. The kind of laughter that belongs only to someone who has your whole attention. My stomach twisted. My hands trembled. I thought maybe I was imagining it, a trick of my mind fueled by weeks of anxiety and sleepless nights. But when I saw the way she reached out and brushed her hand against his arm, the way she tilted her head and let him whisper something into her ear, I knew. He knew. I turned and walked away before she saw me, the world tilting around me. The pavement beneath my feet felt like it was made of glass, fragile and ready to shatter. I didn't confront her immediately. I wanted proof, something undeniable. I didn't want to be the desperate fool who accused her without evidence. So I waited. I watched, I listened, I collected fragments of her new life. Then one night she came home late. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be asleep, when the door creaked open. She stepped in, soft and quiet, but the faint scent of cologne, not mine, clung to her like a shadow. "Hey," she said, her voice light, casual. "Hey," I replied, keeping my tone neutral, trying to steady the hurricane inside me. She didn't notice the silence that stretched like a chasm between us. She kicked off her heels, tossed her coat onto the chair, and flopped onto the couch next to me. She leaned against me, and I felt the betrayal like fire sliding along my skin. "Rough day?" I asked carefully. "Yeah, just work stuff," she murmured, brushing her hair back. I wanted to ask. No, I needed to ask who she had been with, but something in me hesitated. Part of me still loved her. Part of me still believed in the person I had known, the girl who had promised me forever with a glimmering ring. That night I stayed awake again. I listened to the faint sounds of the city outside, to her quiet breathing beside me, and my mind raced with every possible scenario. The thing that hurt the most wasn't that she might be with someone else. It was that I had been blind enough to trust her completely, foolish enough to believe that our love was invincible. Weeks passed, and the break stretched longer than I expected. Each day my anxiety grew, gnawing at my thoughts. I started noticing little things. Messages disappearing from her phone screen when she thought I wasn't looking, sudden laughter on calls she would take in another room, the faint smell of something unfamiliar on her clothes. One night I couldn't take it anymore. Followed her. She went to a hotel downtown, the one I had never seen her use. My heart hammered against my ribcage as I parked my car and watched her enter the lobby with him. Not someone I vaguely recognized, him, the man from the cafe, the man whose laughter had invaded my dreams for weeks. I stayed in the shadows, watching, listening, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly it left white imprints in my palms. When they disappeared inside a room, I felt a part of me break, crumble, and scatter across the pavement outside. I confronted her the next morning. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper, trembling with anger, pain, and disbelief. She looked at me wide-eyed, like I had accused her of something impossible. It's not what you think," she stammered. "Not what I think." I echoed, my voice rising. "You're in a hotel room with another man. We're supposed to be on a break, but you didn't need a break. You needed him." Her silence was worse than any confession. Her eyes darted away, and in that moment I knew. "I loved you," I said, voice cracking. "I gave you everything, my heart, my trust, my life. And you threw it all away." She finally looked at me and I saw something there. Guilt, yes, but also fear. Fear of losing me now that the truth was out. I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she whispered. I felt trapped, suffocated. You were too much sometimes and I made a mistake. I didn't know how to stop." Her words hit me like shards of glass. A mistake. A mistake doesn't feel like passion. A mistake doesn't sneak in at night and linger in your bed, in your clothes, in your life. I laughed then, bitter and hollow. "A mistake," said. "Do you even understand what that word means?" She shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. I love you in some ways. I don't know how to love you the way you want me to. I'm not capable." And in that moment, I realized it wasn't about him. It was about her inability to face the depth of someone else's love, about her need to escape anything that demanded real vulnerability. The days that followed were unbearable. I stayed in our apartment, moving through the motions like a ghost. Every corner reminded me of her. Every object carried a memory. Every silence screamed with absence. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't breathe without thinking of the betrayal. I thought about confronting him, about raging, about screaming until my throat bled. But I knew that wouldn't change anything. The damage was done. It had been done the moment she had chosen someone else over the love we had built. Finally, I made a decision. Packed her things. I left her the apartment. I didn't want to watch her go. Didn't want to see her laughter, her casual smiles, her excuses. I just wanted to reclaim the pieces of myself she had shattered. When she came back to collect her things, I met her at the door. She looked at me, eyes red, lips trembling. I never wanted this," she whispered. "I know," I said. "But you chose it anyway." She reached out like she wanted to touch me one last time. I didn't step back, but I didn't take her hand either. "Will you forgive me someday?" she asked. I shook my head, tears spilling down my face. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admitted. "But I know I can survive without you." And as she walked away, I felt the first weight lift from my chest. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, my truth. Betrayal had broken me, yes, but it had also made me realize something vital. Love without respect, love without reciprocity, is not love at all. I closed the door behind her, and for the first time in months, I felt the quiet hum of possibility, the faint light of a life unbound by someone else's choices. Weeks later, I would look back and realize something even more painful. It wasn't just her betrayal that had hurt me. It was the illusion I had lived in, the fantasy that someone could love me the way I loved them, completely without compromise. But I survived. I learned. And I vowed never to give myself so entirely again. Love is beautiful, yes. But love without self-respect is a prison. And sometimes, the hardest, most heartbreaking lesson is learning that freedom comes from letting go, even when your heart screams otherwise.